In the two poems, A Barred Owl and The History Teacher, the authors portray the use of lies to misdirect children in an attempt to protect them. A Barred Owl tells the audience about a little girl afraid of the hooting of an owl. She is comforted by her parents who reassure her by telling her that the owl is simply asking, "Who cooks for you?" The history teacher displays a teacher who presents inaccurate information to his students on purpose in an attempt to keep them innocent of the bad things in the world. They both draw effects of the statements provided to the children, specifically whether or not the lies positively or negatively affected them. The two poems present the dichotomy of the authentic innocence and the innocence that is focused on children by misguided adults. This shows that children cannot live shielded by everything adults deem inappropriate. The difference between a harmful lie and one that protects is evident between the two poems. A Barred Owl is written from the point of view of parents providing comfort to their daughter, who is terrified of the hooting of an owl and is afraid to go to sleep. They rationalize the hooting as a harmless question of, "Who cooks for you?" This protects the child from something she was in no danger of in the first place. Their explanation calms her irrational fear and allows her to sleep. So this is positive. The history teacher instead is written in a third-person point of view, taking away from the personal feeling of protectiveness and parental guidance that A Barred Owl portrays. It begins with the teacher providing ridiculous explanations to the events in history in an attempt to keep students innocent of the truth to the world. So this is negative. Unlike in A Barred Owl, the history teacher attempts to keep the kids happy while eventually only causing harm by not only allowing them to believe that humanity is innocent of many of the acts it has committed, but it will harm their future educational progress in the topic of history. Their shift in point of view gives the reader a more sympathetic view towards the parents in A Barred Owl and leaves more room for criticism in the history teacher. Within the text, it is easy to see that the students did not need any protection, making the teacher's attempt to keep them innocent unnecessary, unlike the attempts of the parents in A Barred Owl. The students leave the teacher's classroom to torment the weak and smart. This implies a lack of innocence to the children who would make the teacher's efforts meaningless. While the parents wanted to send their child to sleep, they had the girl's well-being in mind, unlike the teacher who wants to preserve the innocence he's convinced himself he sees in the children he teaches. This emphasizes the importance of genuine innocence and forced innocence. One is beneficial to a child's experience growing up, while the other one hinders it. The structure itself of the history teacher reflects the false naivety the teacher is forcing onto the children. The AABB rhyme scheme, in combination with the silly made-up historical facts, work in conjunction to convince the reader that the teachers should not be taken seriously, while A Barred Owl uses a serious tone and darker language that reveals visceral truth rather than attempt to veil it behind the lies. In conclusion, the two poems emphasize innocence, differing only in their showcasing of the reality of innocence. A Barred Owl focusing on pure innocence and how it keeps children happier, while the history teacher reflects imagined and forced innocence onto children that do not require their teacher to be preserving their innocence. It shows the damaging effects of keeping children from experiencing the world. Together, the poems emphasize the importance of childhood and growing older.